Maniac Cop. Why this movie? It's just one that I missed and never saw, and I probably first heard about it being a Bruce Campbell fan, a big Bruce Campbell fan. And so that piqued my curiosity. But you, John, had seen this movie sometime in the past, right?
I'd seen it in the theater.
What?
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. I was way too young.
A former police officer, seemingly resurrected from the dead, goes on a vengeful killing spree in New York City in Maniac Cop.
Sounds
Yeah, I was way too young. My dad took me to so many movies that I shouldn't have seen.
because this movie, I would say, I'm not sure if you'd call it a real cult classic, but it's something that found its legs on home video, right? So I'm just surprised again that you saw this movie in the theater.
I
Because
was 10.
who else? Yeah, but it's like, so really, it's like your dad was the one who had a thing for these
he
genre movies.
yeah, he wanted to see it, and I liked movies, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll bring my 10-year-old to a movie called Maniac Cop." Yeah, I remember being terrified.
For people who haven't seen this movie, it's modern day 1988 New York City, and there's a mysterious cop, the Maniac Cop, who's going around and killing people,
Killing
kind of like a
innocent
serial
people.
killer.
Killing innocent people. Right?
And at that, when you first see him, well, for a big chunk of the movie, you don't really see his face.
Yep.
And the lead detective on the case is played by Tom Atkins, and he really is, to me at least, like the protagonist.
Definitely.
And Bruce Campbell is more of a supporting character.
I mean, when Bruce Campbell gets introduced, his wife actually thinks he's the killer and suspects him because he's acting strange, and she follows
And,
him to a motel and finds out that he's being strange and evasive because he's having an affair. And then his wife gets murdered by the maniac cop. Thus, Bruce Campbell gets kind of framed for a while. And Tom Atkins is still our hero, our lead.
and Bruce Campbell is a cop too. He's a beat cop
Yep.
though.
Yep.
And the Maniac Cop dresses like a classic beat cop, right? Kind of a, even kind of like a nostalgic cop uniform. Um, so then it's kind of a, Bruce Campbell has to clear his name while the Maniac Cop is still just taking people out left and right. And you find out who the Maniac Cop is. He's this former cop who was kind of legendary in the police force, but he was known to break the rules. And he goes to prison where he's horribly disfigured. And then somehow he, people, well, not somehow, his accomplice fakes his death,
Yep.
and that's why he gets out of prison, and then he starts basically taking revenge on the people who sent him there in the first place. But he loses control and he starts killing, these people on the periphery. And anyway, that's how it all shakes out. Uh, the reason why I said this episode might be short because, in my opinion, this is just a bad movie. Bad in that it's not good and it's not the worst movie. It's kind of like Deep Star 6, where it just kind of falls in between into no man's land. But
Right.
this movie has two sequels,
Mm.
at least two sequels. I don't know if there's more than that. So obviously people like it. But to me, this movie is so boring. Just like, uh,
Um,
the,
yeah, the killers aren't
the kills
interesting.
are just bland.
Yeah.
It's just like somebody's walking down a dark alley and there he is and he just strangles them or something and then it's over.
Right.
It's not, there isn't all of that 80s gore or inventive killing. And then Bruce Campbell, who we love and is great at being kind of a ham, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just plays this role totally serious.
Yep.
And that's kind of, to me, it's a misuse of him as an actor to do that. Um, but I mean, from his point of view, he probably really, liked doing this kind of thing where he could do something more serious.
Yep.
Um, and then they commit a sin, I think, in that they kill Tom Atkins
Well, it's the low point.
towards the end.
It's,
Yeah.
it is the low point, and it's a pretty shocking low point because Tom Atkins, and up until then, he'd been the hero and our lead, and we're following him. And then the Maniac Cop, Bruce Campbell's in jail, in lockup, and the Maniac Cop just goes in to the precinct and kills, I don't know, 10 cops and ends up killing our lead, Tom Atkins, and Bruce Campbell and his love interest, who's also another beat cop. They escape. And then the third act is the two of them trying to take down the Maniac Cop.
It just, I just had this memory. Do you remember that movie 15 Minutes? It starred Robert De Niro and Ed Burns.
Uh-huh.
And they're detectives trying to find these serial killers who kill people and broadcast it, I think.
Yeah, I think that was the idea.
So in that movie, De Niro's the lead detective, right? And towards the end, just like this movie, De Niro gets killed.
Yep.
And then Ed Burns has to pick up the slack or whatever and finish the movie.
Right.
And I remember seeing that movie in the theater, and when Robert De Niro got killed, there was kind of like a over the audience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one guy shouted out, "I want my money back."
That's
and
good.
It kind of felt like this, where Tom Atkins dies, and you say, "Well, yeah, it's surprising, right? You surprise the audience."
Yep.
But I don't think necessarily in a good way, right? Because you want to see him, you want him to be the one.
Yes.
At least I did.
And especially in this movie, Tom Atkins is, he's a detective. He's got some backstory about his ex-partner, his old partner had been killed in the line of duty, and you just like him. And he's a good cop. He's straight-laced. And it's interesting. And this whole idea of the Maniac Cop, he was like a legend, a hero to the police force in New York. But it's very clear that he was, a dirty cop. He was a cop that would, pull the trigger and then ask questions later, that kind of thing. And, if you made this movie nowadays, the Maniac Cop would have to be not just the villain, but the villain from the beginning. So that's interesting. But yes, the Maniac Cops. Well, and also there's a strange thing about. So he died on the operating table and at the prison after being stabbed and slashed. His face was slashed, and then the doctor of the prison was like, "Oh wait, he's alive," and just gave him to his girlfriend out of the declared him dead, and then he was in, I don't know, a hospital somewhere, and then he woke up. But also, like, when he attacks one person, they survive. They say they shot him in the head, but it didn't stop him, and that his hands were ice cold. So it's almost like he's a zombie, but it's never really discussed after that. And you never see him get shot in the head, and he keeps coming. He does get shot in the chest a few times, but it's like, well, is he wearing a bulletproof vest? You don't know. So that kind of seemed like a missed opportunity. And then also the people he's killing, like the first person he kills, there's like this waitress and she's walking home and she's gonna get mugged by these two guys, and she runs into Central Park and she sees a police officer and she's like, help me, help me, help me. And there's some misdirection there. And then he just breaks her neck, the maniac cop, in front of the muggers. And the muggers are like, oh, they flee. But so it would make way more sense if the maniac cop was just going after the people that put him in jail, like he was going to kill the prosecutor, or he was going to kill the judge, and then he was going to kill the chief of police. But instead, he's just killing random innocent people.
Well, that's because the movie's not called Rational Cop.
Okay, that's fair. That's good. It's not called Rational Cop.
Let's talk about some things that I did like.
Okay.
I thought the cast was good.
Yep.
I mean, it had, Richard Roundtree, Shaft as the mayor.
Yes.
And
he's great in his scenes.
William Smith, and I don't know if you recognize him as the captain.
Oh, right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird he had a shaved head in this movie. But William Smith, he's like this character actor who's been around forever. Mm-hmm. And around that, in the 80s, maybe he was most famous for playing Conan's dad.
Right.
Conan the Barbarian. The female, I guess the only one that was kind of a letdown, the female lead was nobody, right? Not that I...
Yeah, I didn't recognize her, and I didn't look her up. But it was a little weird that, so Bruce Campbell is a married cop, and he's having an affair with another cop, and his wife finds out, and then his wife gets murdered by the maniac cop. And there's a scene where the captain confronts him and says, your wife is dead and we think you did it. And then the wife's name never gets brought up again. It just seems like, I don't know, you were married to her. Maybe you were on the rocks and clearly you were cheating on her. But it's like, they just, oh yeah, your wife's dead. Oh no. Oh, that's terrible. Never to be brought up again.
The one kill that I did like in this movie was when this woman gets pulled over, and this is the height of the paranoia of the maniac cop.
Right, because it gets into the news. The newspapers are talking about the maniac cop. Yes.
She just pulls out a gun and shoots this cop in the...
Yes. And he's not the maniac cop, but he's dressed similarly. Yeah.
I mean, I just like that because of all the kills in the movie. It was like...
It was
shocking in a good way.
Right, as opposed to Tom Atkins, which was shocking for you in a bad way. I mean, I thought like that is a great low point. You kill your main character. But yeah, I like Tom Atkins better than Bruce Campbell in this movie.
That doesn't... Yeah, killing your main character at the end of the second act is generally not advisable, right?
It happens, but yeah, it's not advisable. I don't think I would ever do it in a screenplay.
Unless you were to like, use magic to bring them back somehow.
To Live and Die in LA does it, where your main character gets killed at the low point.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And it's a letdown.
Yeah, because it's William Peterson, right? And he's going after Willem Dafoe, who had killed his partner, and then he just gets like shotgunned and he's dead. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. Because then you're left with, the second banana, and it's like, well, I don't really, I didn't I didn't watch this movie to root for the second banana,
Right.
right? But anyway, Tom Atkins, this movie reminded me of was he was really good in Night of the Creeps. Do you
Oh
remember that one?
yeah, we should look at
That's a
that. I haven't
good.
seen that forever. Maybe it's
Well, I think that's a good
yeah, maybe
movie.
not though. Huh, that'd be a good choice. Night of
uh,
Creeps.
the other thing that I liked, and I know you appreciated it too, was at the climax. There's this
Oh,
stunt, and I guess it stands out because the rest of the movie doesn't really have stunts like
hmm,
this. Maybe they didn't have the budget for it. But is it an armored vehicle? Or no, it's just a
it's a
van,
paddy
right?
wagon, right?
It's
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It goes driving off the end of a dock and the stuntman's clinging to it and a geez, what is a pole, right?
I don't. It.
It's a pole goes through the
Oh yeah,
windshield
impales the maniac
and
cop,
kills the maniac cop
and
and the stuntman on the side goes flying
yeah,
off.
the truck jumps. It's all in slow
Yeah.
motion. The stuntman Bruce Campbell's guy jumps away and it goes into the water, and oh, it's incredible stunt. In fact, there's a couple of pretty good car stunts leading up to that in a kind of a chase scene. But that ending stunt is nuts because that stunt performer did it. You know?
And I think that it stands out even more nowadays because if they did it now, they would like have to use CGI somehow and ruin it
Yeah.
probably. Like they'd put Bruce Campbell's face on the
And it would
stuntman
look
and
wacky.
add some explosions and
Right. Although
I
you'd
don't
still
know.
have a stunt performer doing the stunt, and then yeah, you'd screw them over by deleting their face or something, or yeah. But yeah,
Or they
what a good stunt.
or they would just erase the stuntman completely and use a digital
Right, or
double,
yeah, there was no one
know.
there. Yeah.
Things
Yep,
like
that's
that.
true.
So uh anyway, I don't have anything more to say about this movie. I thought it was a bad movie.
I thought it
Right.
was a decent bad movie. Not a good bad movie. But yeah, it's not a good movie.
Well, would you watch it
No,
again on
no,
your own?
no, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I didn't hate it though. It was just filled with missed opportunities. That last stunt though, it's pretty cool, and it's short. It's a short movie. Like I some of these movies that we watched that are really bad, like Basket Case, took like 2 or 3 days to watch. This one I just watched straight through. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, well, it didn't even, yeah. All right, so that was Maniac Cop.
Maniac Cop.
Thanks for watching.